I sit perfectly still, still as the grave they tried to put me in. The mahogany chair, Dad's chair, feels cold beneath my hands, even through the fine wool of my dress. Across the room, the hospital bed looks too big for Mother, swallowing her frail form. Marcus leans over her, his voice a low murmur, dripping poison disguised as concern. Mom, we need to be realistic. The costs, this level of care, it's the same speech, word for goddamn word. The same calculated performance he gave last time, 3 years ago in my other life, right before he arranged my little accident. He paints himself the dutiful son, the one burdened by responsibility, while his eyes scan the room, tallying assets, estimating her expiration date. But this time is different. The pen shakes in Mother's hand, hovering over the document. It looks identical to the one he used before, the revised will that cut me out. He thinks it is, but it isn't. I switched it this morning, added a little clause. A DNA verification requirement for any beneficiary claiming direct lineage. I meet Marcus's gaze across the sterile room. A small, sweet smile plays on my lips. Go on, I think. Sign your own damnation. He thinks he's won, again. He has no idea the blood sample required, the one he'll so eagerly provide, will be the pin that pops his inflated ego and deflates his future. He isn't Dad's son, and this time, I have the proof ready. Marcus Valentine, my half-brother, 3 years older, a lifetime greedier. Mom's precious boy, the golden child she bore from her affair before Dad even married her. My father's constant, grating disappointment. He scraped through law school, his ambition a raging fire fueled by entitlement, far outstripping any actual talent. I remember that day clear as the expensive crystal paperweight on Dad's desk. I wasn't even finished with my MBA, top of my class, ready to step in, and Marcus waltzed into Dad's office, smelling of that cloying sandalwood cologne he favored, and somehow convinced Dad to name him successor at Valentine Industries. Manipulative bastard. Now in the second chance, this replay I never asked for but desperately needed, I see everything. The slight twitch in his left eye when he lies. It's practically tap dancing now as he talks to Mother. The way his fingers stray to his ridiculously oversized Rolex when he's nervous. A constant tell he thinks no one notices. He's playing the part again, the devoted son, leaning close, his voice soft, concerned. Fooling the nurses, maybe even fooling Mother in her weakened state. But not me, not this time. His suit, impeccably tailored, expensive, strains just a bit across his middle. Too much whiskey, too many late nights scheming. It hides it well, but I see the slight paunch, the evidence of his vices. The air conditioning hums, raising goosebumps on my arms, a physical reaction to his proximity, to the memory of his betrayal. He pats Mother's hand, his touch meant to look comforting, but it feels like a brand. The emerald signet ring on his pinky finger glints under the harsh hospital lights. Dad's ring. My ring, by rights. He pocketed it right after the funeral, before the official inventory, claimed it must have gotten lost. Liar. Thief. Soon he'll start talking about moving her. Somewhere more comfortable, Mom. Quieter. The same lines he used before. He means the substandard nursing home on the edge of town, the one with peeling paint and overworked staff, where she faded away alone in my previous life, neglected and over-medicated. He'll isolate her, control her finances, bleed her dry, just like before. But this time, I'm watching. And I'm waiting. The clack of expensive heels on cheap hospital linoleum announces Vanessa's arrival before I even see her. She slides into the cafeteria booth opposite me, a cloud of steam rising from the latte she carries like a prop. Her dark hair, usually a wild mane, is scraped back into a chignon so tight it looks painful. Control. Everything about Vanessa is about control. Elise, honey, how are you holding up? Her voice is pitched perfectly, low, sympathetic, concerned. The scent of her perfume, Fracas, the one I bought her for her birthday 5 years ago, fills the small space between us. Irony bites sharp and metallic, like the cheap spoon resting against my own cup of bitter coffee. Last time I poured my heart out to her. My fears about Marcus, my worries for Mother, my grief over Dad. I saw her as my rock, my sister in all but blood. I missed the signs. The way her eyes, perfectly lined, flickered to my phone every time it buzzed. The oh-so-casual questions about the will, about mother's prognosis, slipped between sips of coffee. Just making sure you're protected, sweetie. She was his spy, his accomplice, feeding Marcus every detail, every vulnerability, every strategy I shared. Now I watch her performance with cold clarity. Her manicured fingers, nails painted a demure beige that belies her nature, tap a restless rhythm against the ceramic cup. Tap, tap, tap. The nervous habit I now recognize. It always precedes a lie, a carefully constructed piece of misdirection. The fluorescent lights overhead catch the sparkle of the diamond tennis bracelet circling her wrist. Mom's bracelet. Another piece lost during the move to that awful nursing home. Marcus gave it to her, a thank you gift for services rendered, I suppose. The stale cafeteria air hangs heavy with the smell of disinfectant and burnt coffee. I take a sip, the bitterness coating my tongue. It's hard, V, I say, letting my voice tremble just enough. Marcus is being so controlling. I don't know what Dad's lawyer is really up to. I feed her the lines, the carefully crafted misinformation I want Marcus to hear. I watch her absorb it, her eyes gleaming with false sympathy and real calculation. She touches my hand. You poor thing. Anything I can do, just ask. Thanks, V, that means a lot. She excuses herself a few minutes later. Just need to powder my nose. Predictable. I count silently. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 30. Right on cue, the screen of her phone, left carelessly face up on the table, illuminates. A new message notification. From Marcus. She thinks she's playing me. This time, she's the pawn, Richard Whitman. The name itself feels dusty, like the leather-bound law books lining his office shelves. Books I'm certain no one has ever actually opened. His handshake is dry, papery, cold. The same handshake he offered me 20 years ago when Dad first retained his services, back when I was just a teenager, oblivious. His office is a shrine to faded prestige. Dark wood paneling, certificates yellowing slightly in their frames, the faint, stale ghost of pipe tobacco clinging to the heavy curtains despite the prominent no smoking sign on his desk. He probably puffs away in here the second his secretary leaves for the day. The leather visitor's chair groans under my weight as I cross my legs, projecting an ease I don't entirely feel, but need him to believe. He shuffles papers on his wide mahogany desk, a performance of grave importance. Last time I sat here heartbroken and confused after Dad's death, I hung on his every word. I trusted him. I never noticed the way his gaze lingered a fraction too long on the thickest files, the ones detailing the family trusts, the offshore accounts. I didn't see how certain documents were always positioned just so, obscuring my view of others. Your father's wishes were quite clear, Miss Valentine, he intones now, the exact same opening line. His voice is smooth, practiced, betraying nothing. The afternoon sun slices through the dusty Venetian blinds, striping his desk, his hands, his face in bars of light and shadow. Prison bars, how fitting. He launches into the explanation. The second time in my existence I've heard it, outlining the complex reasons why certain key assets, the controlling shares of Valentine Industries, the primary estate properties, were unfortunately structured to pass solely to Marcus. Legally airtight, of course, all above board. My heart pounds, a heavy thud against my ribs. Not fear, not grief, pure, unadulterated anticipation. This time I see it, the slight, almost imperceptible yellowing at the edges of the original will he produces, inconsistent with its purported age. The pristine white of the forged signature page compared to the document it's attached to. Evidence, subtle but there. Then the intercom on his desk buzzes softly. His secretary's voice, tinny and distant. Mr. Whitman, Marcus Valentine is here. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's urgent. Whitman performs surprise, a slight frown creasing his brow. But I see it. The tiny, almost invisible nod he gives before pressing the button to reply. Send him in, Cynthia. And then I smell it. Faint, almost masked by the tobacco and old paper, but unmistakable. Sandalwood. Marcus's cologne, lingering in the air. He was here earlier. They coordinated this little ambush. This time, Richard, you're not just dealing with a grieving daughter. You're dealing with someone who knows exactly which strings to pull, and yours are attached to conspiracy, fraud, and disbarment. Carol Valentine. Not my mother by blood, but the woman who raised me since I was 3, after my own mother died. Stepmother. The word itself feels like a barrier now, one I didn't recognize until it was too late. She lies propped against the starched hospital pillows, looking smaller, more fragile than I ever remember. Her hair, once a startling platinum blonde, maintained with expensive precision, is now thin, dull, showing gray at the roots. The chic designer loungewear she favored is gone, replaced by a standard-issue hospital gown that hangs loosely on her bony frame. The rhythmic beeping of the monitors beside her bed is a constant, unnerving soundtrack. Each beep a countdown. I loved her once, truly, deeply. I believed she loved me back, just as much as she loved Marcus, her biological son from a brief, disastrous affair before she met Dad. Dad, who'd adopted Marcus, legally given him his name, but never, I now realize, his whole heart. The first time around, drowning in grief and shock, I missed the pattern. How she always, subtly, maneuvered Marcus into the spotlight. How accomplishments of mine were downplayed, while his minor successes were celebrated. How family heirlooms, things specifically promised to me by my grandmother, somehow vanished, only to reappear later. A watch on Marcus's wrist, earrings on Vanessa. Elise, darling. Her voice is thin, papery, like dry leaves skittering across pavement. But her eyes, though clouded with pain medication, are sharp, calculating. Her fingers, mostly bone beneath translucent skin, find mine and clutch with surprising, desperate strength. The cloying scent of Chanel No. 5, her signature fragrance, clings to her despite the sterile hospital air. Some vanities persist even at death's door. She pulls me closer, her breath catching slightly. Darling, I'm so worried about Marcus. A cough rattles in her chest. He's having such financial difficulties. Terrible investments. You know how impulsive he can be. Her eyes plead with me. Could you possibly help him? Just a loan, darling, to tide him over. He's your brother, after all. The exact same script. The same emotional blackmail. Last time, blinded by misplaced loyalty and the desire to please the woman I thought was my mother, I'd agreed. I'd transferred a substantial sum from my inheritance trust. It was the first step, the opening move in their coordinated campaign to strip me bare. The late afternoon sun slants through the window, casting half her face in shadow, making her look like a tragic mask. She's playing the concerned mother, the unifying force trying to keep her family together. But I feel the cold weight of the lie, and I feel the phantom weight of the ring she wears. My paternal grandmother's diamond engagement ring. She'd promised it to me countless times. When you get married, darling. Yet I know now, from piecing together fragments in my past life, she'd already secretly given it to Marcus. He'd sold it months ago to cover gambling debts. I sipped the lukewarm peppermint tea the nurse brought earlier. The minty flavor can't wash away the bitterness rising in my throat. I meet her gaze, arranging my features into a mask of dutiful concern. I nod slowly, sympathetically. Of course, Mother, whatever I can do to help my brother. Let her believe it. Let them all believe I'm the same naive fool. Every lie, every manipulation is now a piece of data, cataloged, stored, ready to be used. Rain lashes against the huge, angled skylight of Marcus's downtown loft apartment. The sound echoes in the cavernous space, all polished concrete floors and exposed brick. Very chic. Very expensive. Paid for, I now know, with funds diverted from Valentine Industries, funds that should have been part of my inheritance. His voice drifts from the open-plan kitchen area. Low, urgent tones. He's on the phone. I pretend to study a particularly ugly piece of modern art-jagged metal, angry colors, straining my ears to catch the conversation over the drumming rain. The air hangs thick with the smell of expensive single malt whiskey. Glenfiddich, 21. Dad's favorite. Marcus had helped himself to the last unopened bottle from Dad's study after the funeral, naturally. In my previous life, I was never invited here. This was his inner sanctum, shared only with his cronies like Vanessa and Richard Whitman. I never knew about the life insurance policy, not until it was too late. But this time, I engineered this visit. A fragile olive branch. Checking in, I'd called it. He'd been suspicious, but his ego couldn't resist showing off his domain. Absolutely needs to be ironclad, Richard. Marcus hisses into his phone, his back to me. He paces near the gleaming stainless steel island. Pay out directly to me. No complications. We can't have Elise questioning the beneficiary arrangement like she tried to do with Dad's initial setup. Confirmation. Cold and stark. A fraudulent policy taken out not on Dad, but on me, with him as the sole beneficiary, planning for my accident well in advance. The cool, heavy glass of water in my hand trembles. I tighten my grip just before it slips. My foot scuffs slightly on the polished concrete. A tiny sound, but enough. Marcus spins around, his face instantly draining of color, eyes wide with panic, caught. "Oh, sorry," I murmur, affecting mild surprise. "Just getting some water, didn't mean to interrupt." I give him a bland smile, taking a slow sip, my eyes innocent over the rim of the glass. He recovers quickly, forcing a tight smile. No problem, just work stuff." Later, as I'm leaving, the uniformed doorman in the lobby holds the door. "Miss Valentine? You forgot your scarf." He hands me the silk scarf I'd accidentally left draped over a chair near the kitchen. Tucked discreetly into its folds is the tiny digital voice recorder I'd activated and slipped beneath the kitchen counter overhang while Marcus was distracted pouring his whiskey. The recording is a start, evidence of intent, of conspiracy with Whitman. But I need the policy itself. The forged signatures, the illegal beneficiary designation, the proof. The elevator hums, descending smoothly, my stomach lurching slightly with the motion. But my mind isn't falling. It's soaring, racing ahead, planning the next move. My fingers tighten around my purse. Inside, nestled next to my wallet, is the business card for Marcus's personal insurance broker, carelessly left on his desk blotter. Mr. Henderson. He's about to receive a very interesting anonymous tip regarding potential fraud. He'll soon realize my brother isn't the only Valentine he should be wary of. The Valentine Industries boardroom. It hasn't changed. Still cold, still imposing. Chrome, glass, a ridiculously long mahogany table polished to a mirror shine. Dad's portrait hangs at the far end, his painted eyes seeming to follow my every move, stern and questioning. Or maybe that's just my guilt. No, not guilt, resolve. Marcus stands where Dad used to stand, head of the table, projector screen glowing behind him. He's outlining his grand vision for the company's future. An aggressive, high-risk expansion into the Asian market. The exact same plan that, in my previous life, bled the company dry, leveraged its assets to the breaking point, and nearly caused total collapse before Dad stepped back in, furious. He gestures with a laser pointer, talking about projections, market share, capital investment. His confidence is astounding, utterly baseless. He genuinely believes his own bullshit. The board members, mostly older men who knew Dad for decades, nod along. Respect for the name, perhaps. Or maybe just comfortable complacency. The air smells faintly of lemon polish and the expensive, slightly stale cologne favored by wealthy old men. Dust motes dance in the beam of the projector light. Under my fingers, resting on the polished table, is my leather portfolio. It doesn't contain market analyses or expansion projections. It contains months of painstakingly gathered evidence, bank statements showing diverted funds, falsified invoices, internal emails outlining his mismanagement, proof of embezzlement, fraud. Enough to send him to prison, not just oust him from the company, but I sit quietly. A notepad lies open before me. I make occasional, meaningless marks on it, appearing attentive, supportive. The dutiful sister letting her brother take the lead. "And as you can see, gentlemen," Marcus announces, pausing for effect, "this expansion requires a significant injection of capital. We're talking initial outlays in the region of..." He drones on. I tune him out, focusing on the weight of the pen in my hand. It's Dad's antique Mont Blanc fountain pen. Heavy, reassuring. Marcus thinks it's locked safely away in his office safe, the one he had installed after Dad died. He doesn't know I found the spare key tucked away in Dad's old humidor months ago. Any questions? Marcus asks finally, his gaze sweeping the room. His eyes skim right over me, dismissing me as irrelevant. Furniture. None from me, Marcus, I reply softly. My voice is even, calm. I offer a small, supportive smile. The same smile I gave him last time. He nods, satisfied, turning back to the screen. Under the guise of taking notes, I carefully, deliberately sign the documents hidden beneath the top sheet of my notepad. Share transfer agreements, voting proxy assignments, documents I'd slipped into a thick stack of routine quarterly reports I'd asked him to authorize that very morning, claiming they were time-sensitive compliance forms. He'd barely glanced at them, irritated by the interruption, scrawling his signature where it indicated. He just signed away his control of Valentine Industries. He just handed the company back to me. He just doesn't know it yet. The insurance company headquarters is a monument to corporate blandness. Beige carpets swallowing the sound of footsteps, generic motivational posters urging teamwork and synergy. The air conditioning hums too loud, carrying the faint, pervasive smell of stale coffee and quiet desperation. Miss Winters, senior compliance officer, peers at me over the top of her rimless glasses. Her expression is carefully neutral, her desk impeccably organized. She reviews the documents I've laid out, copies of Marcus's application for the life insurance policy on me, the initial police report from my accident, financial statements suggesting motive. These are extremely serious allegations, Miss Valentine, she says. Her voice is low, professional, giving nothing away. My heart is hammering against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. But my hands, resting on the arms of the visitor chair, are perfectly steady. I slide the final, crucial piece of evidence across the polished surface of her desk. It's a certified copy of Dad's original will, the one predating Marcus's manipulated version. Specifically, the section detailing beneficiary requirements for certain Valentine family trusts and policies, including a standard Clause 1 Marcus had conspicuously removed from the doctored will presented after Dad's death, requiring DNA verification for any biological descendant claiming inheritance. The policy Marcus took out on my life specifies the beneficiary must be a direct blood relative, I state calmly, meeting her gaze directly. All I am requesting, Miss Winters, is that your company adheres rigorously to its own internal verification protocols and the stipulations clearly outlined in the originating family legal structures before paying out a multi-million-dollar policy under such suspicious circumstances. The chill from the air conditioning seeps into my bones. Goosebumps prickle my arms beneath my silk blouse. In my previous life, I discovered the existence of this fraudulent policy far too late. The payout had already happened, the money laundered through shell corporations vanished. This time, I started laying the groundwork months ago. Anonymous inquiries about verification procedures, cultivating low-level contacts within the compliance department, feeding fragmented information about potential irregularities, understanding their internal triggers for fraud investigation. Miss Winters taps her pen, a sharp staccato rhythm, against the legal pad in front of her. Her eyes scan the DNA clause in Dad's original will, then flick back to the policy application Marcus submitted. The implications are clearly registering. You understand, Miss Valentine, she warns, her voice still carefully neutral. Invoking this level of verification, especially contested verification, will delay any potential payout significantly, potentially indefinitely pending legal challenges. I understand completely, I reply. A small, tight smile touches my lips. Victory tastes like dark chocolate, bitter, complex, but deeply satisfying. Outside her office window, beyond the hermetically sealed corporate environment, rain begins to streak the glass. A storm is brewing, metaphorically and literally. The storm that's about to break over Marcus's head. I reach into my purse and retrieve Dad's heavy gold signet ring, the emerald one Marcus stole. I'd calmly removed it from his desk drawer during a carefully orchestrated, supportive sibling visit to his office last week, while he was distracted by a staged phone call. Slipping it onto my right ring finger, I pick up the pen Miss Winters offers. The weight of the ring feels solid, grounding, rightful. I sign the formal request for DNA verification of the policy beneficiary. Marcus has no idea. He thinks the policy is his golden ticket, contingent only on my demise. He doesn't know about the fine print, the clauses buried deep, the standard requirements for lineage proof he assumed wouldn't apply or could be bypassed. He certainly doesn't know that I, through carefully worded anonymous tips citing potential estate fraud concerns, helped the compliance department rediscover the critical importance of enforcing that specific blood relation clause in cases involving contested family estates. His DNA sample, when inevitably requested and tested against the authenticated sample of my father, held by the Valentine family trust administrators, a sample secured long before Marcus could tamper with anything, will prove definitively what I, my father, and my stepmother have always known and kept hidden. Marcus is not my father's biological son, and his multi-million-dollar insurance policy is about to become worthless paper. Dawn hasn't even fully broken. The sky still bruised purple and gray when the urgent summons arrive. Emergency board meeting, Valentine Industries, effective immediately. Text messages ping, emails flash across the city, dragging executives from their beds. I arrive exactly on time. Punctuality is a sign of respect, Dad always said. Or, in this case, a sign of control. I'm dressed in a sharp navy blue suit, Dad's favorite color on me. I carry his old leather briefcase polished and restored. It feels solid in my hand. The boardroom is already humming with nervous energy. Men in expensive suits shift uncomfortably in their plush leather chairs, whispering behind cupped hands. The air smells of strong coffee and rising panic. Marcus isn't here yet, late, typical. Richard Whitman bustles in, clutching a stack of legal folders to his chest like a shield. His face is pale, eyes darting around the room. "What is the meaning of this unscheduled meeting?" he demands, puffing himself up. My client, Mr. Valentine, was not consulted. I take my usual seat midway down the table, silent, offering him a brief, neutral nod. The chief financial officer, David Chen, a man I've been quietly cultivating for months, stands at the head of the table. He looks pale, visibly shaken, but resolute. He begins distributing copies of a thick report. The report I helped him compile, cross-referencing the company accounts with the offshore transfers I'd traced. The early morning sun streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows, catching the dust motes dancing in the air, illuminating the damning numbers on the pages being passed around. "These discrepancies," David begins, his voice tight, cracking slightly despite his effort at control. "They appear to show significant systemic fund misappropriation. Unauthorized transfers, falsified invoices, extending back several years. A collective intake of breath. Stares turn toward the head of the table, then, inevitably, towards me. The quiet sister. The one they all underestimated, overlooked. The realization dawns in their eyes. I hadn't just been sitting here passively all this time, I'd been watching, documenting, waiting. Just then, the heavy boardroom doors burst open. Marcus storms in, face flushed, hair slightly disheveled. He's clearly furious at being summoned, still operating under the delusion of absolute authority. He stops short, sensing the icy atmosphere. Standing near the CFO, almost unnoticed until now, is Miss Winters from the insurance company. She holds a single manila envelope. Her expression is grim. "Mr. Valentine," she says, her voice cutting through the tense silence. "Formal, official. We have some serious concerns regarding the life insurance policy taken out on your sister, Elise Valentine." I watch Marcus's face cycle through emotions like a faulty projector. Confusion first, then irritation. Then, as Miss Winters continues, dawning horror. Standard verification protocols were initiated due to flags raised concerning potential estate fraud, she states calmly. As stipulated by the policy's biological relation clauses, DNA verification was required for beneficiary payout. She pauses, letting the weight of her words sink in. The results show you are not eligible as a primary beneficiary under the blood relative requirements. His head snaps towards me. His eyes lock onto mine across the gleaming table. Understanding flashes through them, raw and ugly. He knows. He finally understands that I know. About the insurance, about the DNA, about everything. I meet his gaze steadily, my expression unreadable. Board members start murmuring, shifting, glancing between Marcus, Miss Winters, and me. Richard Whitman's face has gone the color of old parchment. Marcus opens his mouth, sputtering, ready to bluster, to deny, to threaten. Before he can utter a word, I reach down, open Dad's briefcase, and calmly withdraw a single document. I slide it across the polished table towards the CFO. It's a certified copy of Marcus's original birth certificate, the one I found years ago in my previous life, tucked away in Mother's hidden safe deposit box. The one listing his biological father not as Edward Valentine, but as Arthur Kensington Dad's former business partner, the man Mother had the affair with. The document that proves Marcus Valentine isn't a Valentine at all. The document that will shatter his identity, his claim, his entire world. Chaos erupts. Whitman scrambles. David Chen picks up the birth certificate, reads it, and looks at Marcus with utter disbelief. Marcus stares at the paper, then at me, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated hatred. It's just beginning. Glass and chrome, 10th floor, sweeping city views. Vanessa's boutique PR agency, Vantage Point, screams success, or at least the successful illusion of success. The receptionist, impossibly chic and coolly efficient, leads me through a minimalist open-plan office space to the corner sanctuary where Vanessa reigns. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the skyline like a living mural. A massive abstract painting dominates one wall, probably cost a fortune, possibly hides a safe. Vanessa rises from behind a desk large enough to land a helicopter on, all gleaming white lacquer. "Elise, darling, so good of you to come." Her voice trills, overly bright. She air kisses the space beside my cheeks, careful not to smudge her perfect makeup. Her silk blouse, the color of champagne, shimmers under the recessed lighting. It likely cost more than my monthly mortgage payment used to. The scent of lilies, dozens of them crammed into a ridiculously large vase on a side table, is almost overpowering, sickly sweet. "I've been thinking so much about you, about your situation," she continues, gesturing towards a low-slung white leather armchair that looks more stylish than comfortable. It faces her desk directly, the power position. In my previous life, this exact meeting, this exact pitch was a major turning point, downwards. She'd presented a can't-miss investment opportunity, a tech startup with unbelievable upside potential. It missed, spectacularly. My entire investment vanished, funneled, I later discovered, through a series of shell companies directly into Marcus's failing real estate ventures, propping him up just long enough for him to finalize his control over Mother's assets. Her assistant, silent and efficient, places tiny cups of espresso on the glass coffee table between us. The bitter, burnt aroma mixes unpleasantly with the lilies and Vanessa's current perfume choice, something heavy and floral, not the fracas I knew. She launches into her spiel, sliding glossy prospectuses across the table. The same fraudulent proposal, different letterhead. "It's a disruptive wellness brand, darling. Absolutely revolutionary. We need an initial seed investment, say $2 million. Her eyes are wide, earnest, calculating. "I know things are complicated for you right now, with Marcus and the estate." A delicate pause. "This could be the perfect way to secure your own future independently." I run my fingers over the smooth, cool leather of the armchair. I nod slowly, thoughtfully, letting my gaze drift towards the window, towards the steel and glass towers gleaming in the afternoon sun. I appear to be considering it seriously. "It sounds intriguing, Vanessa," I murmur. I watch her closely, a tiny, almost imperceptible relaxation in her shoulders. Her smile warms, becomes slightly more genuine. Or perhaps just more predatory. The shark senses blood in the water. "It sounds perfect," I repeat softly. She beams, pushing the investment contract towards me. "Just sign here, darling, and we can get the ball rolling immediately." What she doesn't know, the name on the prospectus, Serenity Now Wellness, triggered a memory. I'd already hired Mr. Petrov, the meticulous forensic accountant who had helped me unravel Marcus's finances in my previous life. He'd already traced the shell companies linked to Vanessa's last failed venture, the one that had ruined several other friends. I'd already discreetly contacted those victims, sharing information, coordinating. A class action lawsuit is brewing. Regulatory bodies have received anonymous complaints complete with damning evidence Petrov uncovered. Her carefully constructed house of cards is already teetering. And the contract she so eagerly wants me to sign? I glance down at it. It looks standard. But buried deep within the boilerplate, added by my real lawyers, the sharp, discreet ones Lin Zhang recommended, are several poison pill clauses. Clauses tied to specific performance benchmarks and regulatory compliance checks. The moment she attempts to move my invested funds into anything other than the explicitly stated, legitimate escrow account detailed within, the entire agreement becomes null and void, penalties activate, and automatic notifications are sent to my legal team and financial regulators. Let me take this home, read it over carefully, I say, folding the document and tucking it into my bag. $2 million is a big decision. Her smile tightens fractionally, but she recovers quickly. Of course, darling, take your time, but don't take too long. Opportunities like this. I understand, I say, rising. I'll be in touch. As I walk out, leaving her in her glass castle built on lies, I feel a grim satisfaction. Checkmate isn't about taking the king in one move. It's about patiently, strategically, removing all his other pieces first. Dr. Peterson's waiting room is a time capsule. Wood-paneled walls adorned with slightly yellowed medical degrees. A ficus tree shedding leaves onto the faded carpet. The same stack of dog-eared magazines from 5 years ago, Reader's Digest, Good Housekeeping. Even the receptionist, Brenda, with her helmet of sprayed hair and her slightly too knowing smile, seems unchanged. The examination room smells sharp, antiseptic, with an underlying faint sweetness. Peppermint. Dr. Peterson always keeps a bowl of peppermint candies on his desk. A folksy, reassuring touch completely at odds with what I now know he's capable of. He clicks away at his computer, updating Mother's chart. The fluorescent lights overhead are harsh, casting his face in stark shadows, emphasizing the lines of strain around his eyes. He avoids meeting my gaze directly, the same subtle avoidance I dismissed as professional detachment last time. I'm afraid your mother's condition is deteriorating, Elise, he says, his voice carefully modulated, professionally somber. Faster than we initially anticipated. Faster because you're helping it along, you spineless coward. In my past life, I trusted him implicitly. He'd been our family doctor since I was a child. I never questioned his judgment, never doubted his care. When Mother declined so rapidly after Marcus took over her medical decisions, transferring her to that dreadful nursing home under Peterson's supervision, I attributed it to her illness, to heartbreak, to despair. I never suspected foul play. How could I? Now, reborn with the bitter knowledge of the outcome, I notice everything. The slight hesitation before he answers a direct question, the excessive, almost defensive detail in his chart notes, the way his fingers tremble almost imperceptibly as they tap the keyboard. Guilt? Fear? The nursing home staff report she's been resistant, he continues, scrolling through screens, refusing some of her medications. The vinyl paper on the examination table crackles loudly as I shift my position. I lean forward, injecting just the right amount of concern into my voice. Inside my purse, resting on my lap, my thumb finds the tiny button on the side of my smartphone, activating the voice recording app. Refusing medication? I ask, letting my brow furrow. Which one specifically? I thought her treatment plan was relatively straightforward. Pain management, heart medication. I trail off, feigning confusion. He pauses. 1 beat. 2 beats. 3 beats too long. His eyes flick momentarily towards the reflection in the chrome paper towel dispenser on the wall. A nervous tick. Or maybe checking if Brenda is hovering outside the door. I also catch a glimpse of his phone screen, angled slightly away on the counter. I can't read it, but I know whose messages are likely waiting there. Instructions from Marcus. Oh, just the standard protocols, he replies, a little too quickly, turning back to his computer screen. Sometimes elderly patients become confused, agitated. He doesn't see the tiny camera, disguised as a shirt button, recording his face, his hesitant replies. He doesn't know about the private duty nurse I hired 2 weeks ago, posing as a new agency caregiver at the nursing home. She's meticulously documenting everything, every pill administered, every vital sign checked, every visitor log entry, every conversation overheard. She's already obtained discrete blood and hair samples during routine care. He certainly can't know that those samples were sent, via secure courier arranged by Lin Zhang's firm, to an independent toxicology lab in Switzerland. The preliminary results arrived this morning via encrypted email. They show elevated, non-prescribed levels of sedatives and dangerously fluctuating doses of her heart medication, a subtle, insidious pattern designed to mimic natural decline while slowly, steadily causing organ failure, the exact pattern that killed her last time. Well, I trust your judgment completely, doctor. I lie smoothly, forcing warmth into my voice. You've always taken such wonderful care of our family. Relief washes over his features, smoothing the lines of tension. He visibly relaxes. Of course, Elise. We're doing everything we can for her. Yes, you are, doctor. You're doing everything you can to help my brother commit murder. And I'm doing everything I can to make sure you both pay for it. The State Medical Licensing Board occupies a wing of a soulless state government building. Institutional gray carpets, flickering fluorescent lights, the pervasive hum of an ancient HVAC system. It smells faintly of dust and bureaucracy. The atmosphere is deliberately designed to be intimidating, unwelcoming. Investigator Maria Rivera has a face that gives nothing away. Sharp, dark eyes, hair pulled back severely, a no-nonsense gray suit. She reviews the thick file I've compiled, her expression impassive. Page after page, the private nurse's detailed logs, timelines cross-referencing medication changes with mother's reported downturns, financial records showing payments from Marcus to Dr. Peterson beyond standard billing, copies of Peterson's official charts juxtaposed with the independent toxicology reports. These are extremely serious accusations, Miss Valentine, she says finally, her voice flat, unemotional. Her dark eyes lift from the file, meeting mine across the metal desk. They scan my face, assessing my credibility, my motives. Outside her window, gray clouds hang low. A cold front has moved in, stripping the last stubborn leaves from the trees in the bleak parking lot below. My wool blazer suddenly feels thin, inadequate against a chill that has nothing to do with the failing heating system. I understand the gravity, Investigator Rivera, I reply, my voice steady. My hands rest calmly in my lap. I wouldn't be here if I weren't certain. I slide the final document across the desk, the full certified toxicology report from the Swiss lab, detailing the specific drugs, the elevated levels, the pattern inconsistent with Peterson's prescribed treatment plan. In my former life, I received mother's death certificate weeks after the funeral. Cardiac arrest due to natural causes, it read. Dr. Peterson signed it. By the time my suspicions solidified, the trail was cold, evidence obscured, the statute of limitations for wrongful death claims ticking away. This time, I didn't wait. I started building the case the moment I realized I was back. Investigator Rivera's pen scratches against her notepad, making annotations. The only sounds in the small office are the scratching pen, the humming lights, the distant whine of the heating system. The air smells of her strong black coffee and the musty odor of countless files crammed into cabinets lining the walls. Your brother, Marcus Valentine, he has no idea you've brought this to us, she observes. It's a statement, not a question. I touch the silver locket at my throat. Inside rests a tiny photo of Mother, smiling, vibrant, taken years ago, before the illness, before the betrayal. No, I confirm quietly. And Dr. Peterson, the nursing home administrator? Also unaware, I state. I don't elaborate. I don't mention the encrypted duplicate files already transmitted to the FBI's specialized healthcare fraud unit via Lin Zhang's secure channels. I don't mention the whistleblower nurse currently in a safe location arranged by Lin's security team, ready to provide sworn testimony corroborating every detail in my file. I don't mention the newly notarized medical power of attorney document resting heavy in my briefcase, the one I had Mother sign weeks ago during a rare lucid moment, witnessed by two independent hospital social workers effectively revoking the previous one Marcus had obtained under duress. I secured my legal standing before making my move. Investigator Rivera closes the thick file with a decisive snap. The sound echoes in the quiet room. She meets my eyes again, her expression still unreadable, but with a new flicker of something determination. We will initiate a formal investigation immediately, she says. Interviews will begin tomorrow. Dr. Peterson's license will likely be suspended pending the outcome. She pauses. You should prepare yourself, Miss Valentine. When this breaks, it will become very public very quickly. The media attention will be significant. I'm prepared, I say. And I am. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about justice for my mother. It's about ensuring they can never harm anyone else again. The public fallout is not a side effect. It's a weapon. The hospital conference room is thick with tension, palpable as static electricity before a storm. On one side of the long, polished table sit the hospital board members, powerful surgeons, wealthy philanthropists, community leaders, their faces grim, suits expensive. On the other side sit representatives from the state medical board and the district attorney's office, armed with thick folders and serious expressions. Outside the frosted glass doors, barely contained, is a swarm of reporters, cameras poised, microphones ready. Marcus arrives last, naturally. He strides in with an air of forced nonchalance, still clinging to the delusion that his hefty donations to the hospital, the wing named the Valentine Pavilion, funded with embezzled company money no less, guarantee him immunity and loyalty. The flicker of confusion, then irritation on his face when no one rises to greet him, when the board chairman offers only a curt nod, is almost satisfying enough to make the ordeal worthwhile. Almost. Dr. Alistair Finch, the board chairman, a renowned cardiac surgeon with silver hair and a reputation for ruthless integrity, calls the emergency meeting to order with a rap of his knuckles on the table. "We are convened today," he begins, his voice resonating authority, "to address extremely serious allegations regarding patient care standards and potential criminal conduct within the Valentine Pavilion, specifically concerning the treatment of the late Mrs. Carol Valentine and the actions of attending physician Dr. Robert Peterson." Sunlight streams through the vertical blinds, striping the table, illuminating the labeled evidence folders placed before each board member. Damning evidence. I sit quietly in a chair against the wall, slightly apart from the main table, dressed conservatively in charcoal gray. My expression is carefully neutral, appropriately concerned. The grieving daughter caught in a horrific situation. The hospital's chief risk officer, a stern woman named Helen Cartwright, presents her internal findings first. Her voice is steady, clinical, as she details the pattern uncovered by the state investigators and corroborated by her own team: negligence, falsified patient records, unauthorized medication changes, dosages inconsistent with charted orders, failures and oversight at the affiliated nursing home. The room smells of strong coffee and rising fear. I watch Dr. Peterson, seated next to his lawyer further down the table. Sweat beads on his pale forehead, trickling down his temple. His face crumples as projected charts and graphs meticulously illustrate his deviations from accepted medical practice, lining up precisely with Mother's accelerated decline. His lawyer keeps placing a restraining hand on his arm. The administrator of the nursing home, a portly man with shifty eyes, begins to stammer evasive explanations when questioned by Investigator Rivera. He talks about understaffing, difficult patients, communication breakdowns, excuses, weak ones. It's only then, seeing the administrator squirm, hearing the cold, hard facts laid out by the risk officer and the state investigator, that Marcus seems to grasp the true scope of the disaster unfolding around him. This isn't just about the insurance policy anymore. This is about criminal charges, manslaughter potentially, conspiracy, fraud. His head snaps up, eyes frantically scanning the room until they find mine. They hold a raw mixture of disbelief, then boiling accusation, then finally a flicker of desperate, pleading panic. "Do something, Elise. Fix this." I meet his gaze for a fleeting second, then deliberately look away, focusing on the chairman. My expression remains carefully blank, unreadable, unhelpful. Chairman Finch clears his throat. Before this board considers motions regarding Dr. Peterson's hospital privileges and initiates mandatory reporting protocols to law enforcement regarding potential criminal conspiracy. He pauses, letting the threat hang heavy in the air. Does anyone wish to make a statement? The silence stretches, thick and suffocating, broken only by the low hum of the air conditioning and the muffled clicks of cameras outside the door. Then Marcus pushes himself shakily to his feet. His lawyer tries to pull him back down, whispering urgently, but Marcus shakes him off. He has to try, has to bluster his way out. It's all he knows. There must be some mistake, he begins, his voice cracking, unsteady. My mother received the finest care. Dr. Peterson is a respected physician. These allegations are outrageous, unfounded. Investigator Rivera doesn't even look at him. She simply reaches into her folder and slides another document onto the center of the table with quiet finality. It lands face up. Mother's final comprehensive toxicology report from the Swiss lab. The damning proof of exactly what drugs, in what combination, were slowly, systematically killing her, undeniable, irrefutable. Marcus stares at the report, his face going slack, the color draining completely. He collapses back into his chair as if his strings have been cut. At that precise moment, as if on cue, the phones of the reporters waiting outside begin buzzing and pinging. The anonymous, detailed press packet, curated by Lin Zhang's team, delivered by untraceable courier, has just arrived. The feeding frenzy is about to begin. And Marcus is the main course, probate court. The air in the wood-paneled courtroom feels heavy, stagnant, saturated with the ghosts of 1,000 other family feuds fought over money and heirlooms. It smells of old paper, furniture polish, and simmering resentment. Richard Whitman arrives flanking Marcus. Both are dressed in appropriately somber, expensive suits. Their expressions are carefully calibrated masks of grief mixed with righteous concern for preserving Edward Valentine's true wishes. They glance towards the plaintiff's table where I sit, alone. My solitary presence clearly unnerves them. Good. The judge, Honorable Eleanor Vance, enters. A formidable woman with sharp eyes and steel-gray hair pulled back in a severe bun. She radiates a no-nonsense aura that suggests she suffers fools gladly, because she enjoys shutting them down. She calls the proceedings to order, her voice crisp and authoritative. In my previous life, this courtroom, this very hearing, was the stage for my final crushing defeat. Whitman, with his mastery of legal maneuvering, presented forged documents, coached false testimony from Marcus and Vanessa, and successfully painted me as a grasping, unstable daughter challenging a grieving son and a clear, legally sound will. The memory still burns, tasting like ash and humiliation. Today I watch Whitman arrange his files with the same practiced confidence. He smooths his tie, adjusts his cuffs, a performer preparing for his act. Sunlight filters through the tall, dusty windows, catching the dust motes dancing in the beams and highlighting the glint of Dad's emerald signet ring on my right hand. I see Marcus's eyes fixate on it, a flicker of shock and anger crossing his face, before he quickly schools his features back into pious grief. He knows I took it. He just doesn't know how much else I've taken. Your Honor, Whitman begins, his voice smooth, resonant, filling the quiet courtroom. We are here today because the defendant, Miss Elise Valentine, is contesting the lawfully executed final will and testament of her late father, Edward Valentine. Furthermore, he adds, his tone dripping with skepticism, she has produced an alleged new will, supposedly discovered under highly questionable circumstances long after the original was validated. He makes it sound sordid, grasping, exactly as he did before. I remain perfectly still under the judge's sharp, assessing gaze. I project calm, quiet dignity. What Whitman and Marcus don't know. This hearing isn't really about the will I supposedly discovered, which is, in fact, Dad's actual original last will, recovered from his secret safe deposit box. That's just the pretext. The real purpose of this hearing is to get Marcus and Whitman on the record under oath, testifying to facts, timelines, and financial arrangements that I know with absolute certainty will directly contradict the evidence the FBI and the district attorney are preparing to unveil. Their sworn testimony today will be the final nail in their coffins. Perjury added to the list of charges. My own attorney? He doesn't exist. I informed the court clerk this morning that my counsel was unavoidably detained, but that I wished to proceed. A calculated risk designed to make them overconfident, careless. Miss Valentine, Judge Vance says, her gaze sharp, your counsel is not present. Do you wish to request a continuance? No, Your Honor. I reply calmly, my voice clear and steady. Thank you, but I am prepared to proceed pro se at this time. I see it. A brief flash of triumph, of smug satisfaction in Marcus's eyes. He exchanges a subtle glance with Whitman. They think I'm a fool, walking into their trap unarmed. Perfect. Very well, the judge says, making a note. Mr. Whitman, call your first witness. We call Marcus Valentine to the stand, Whitman announces. As Marcus makes his way to the witness box, takes the oath, and settles himself with an air of aggrieved sincerity, I open the simple, slim leather portfolio in front of me. Inside are not legal arguments, but a carefully sequenced list of questions. Simple, factual questions about timelines, about financial transactions, about his interactions with Dr. Peterson, about the insurance policy. Questions designed to lead him, step by step, into a web of lies that will become his public undoing when the truth finally breaks. Let the court stenographer capture every single word. The Valentine estate, Oak Hill. It stands silhouetted against a bruised twilight sky, windows reflecting the dying sun in fiery bursts of orange and gold. Imposing, silent, full of ghosts and memories. Inside, the formal living room is a stage set for the final act. Ancestral portraits, dimly lit, watch from the walls, their painted eyes seeming to judge us all. Marcus paces restlessly before the massive stone fireplace, a crystal tumbler of whiskey clutched in his white-knuckled hand. Ice clinks nervously against the glass. "You can't possibly think you'll get away with this, Elise." He spits, his voice tight with fury and barely suppressed panic. Whiskey sloshes dangerously close to the rim of his glass. "Contesting Dad's will? The board meeting? What the hell have you done?" Vanessa perches nervously on the edge of the antique damask settee, the same settee where Mother used to sit, teaching me needlepoint, her voice soft, patient. A lifetime ago. Vanessa's usual composure is gone, replaced by a brittle anxiety. Her eyes dart between me and Marcus, calculating her odds, probably wondering how to salvage her own skin. The air smells faintly of wood smoke from the dying fire, mixed with the ghostly scent of Mother's favorite Queen Elizabeth roses, their fragrance lingering long after the blooms themselves are gone. I stand silently by Dad's massive antique partner's desk, my fingers trailing lightly over the intricate inlaid wood surface. In my previous life, this room was the scene of my final, tearful confrontation with them. They'd ganged up on me, Marcus blustering, Vanessa playing the concerned friend, both feeding me lies about Dad's true wishes, about my own inadequacy, about the necessity of Marcus taking control for the good of the family. I'd fled in tears, defeated, believing them. This time there are no tears, only cold, hard resolve. I reach down, pull open the heavy top drawer of the desk, the one Marcus never bothered to check, assuming it only held old stationery. I remove a slim, leather-bound journal, Dad's private journal, the one I found tucked away in his secret safe deposit box, the one he started after his suspicions about Marcus began. "Interesting reading," I comment mildly, holding up the journal so they can both see the familiar embossed Valentine crest on the cover. I watch the blood drain from Marcus's face. Vanessa gasps audibly. They know what it is, or they fear what it might contain. I flip it open casually. Dad had growing concerns. I continue, my voice soft but carrying in the quiet room. About certain financial irregularities at the company. About Mother's relationship with Arthur Kensington. About... I pause, letting the implication hang in the air. That's about parentage. The grandfather clock in the wide, echoing hallway begins to chime. 7 solemn, heavy strokes. Precisely 7 o'clock. The exact time I instructed the secure courier service, again, arranged by Lin Zhang, to deliver notarized copies of selected damning pages from this journal to every member of the Valentine Industries Board, to Investigator Rivera at the State Medical Board, to the lead prosecutor at the DA's office, and to Judge Vance presiding over the probate case. Tick, tock, then another sound. Distant at first, growing louder. The crunch of tires on the long gravel driveway leading up to the house. Multiple vehicles. Headlights sweep across the tall living room windows. They're here, right on schedule. The search warrant I knew the DA would request based on the financial evidence provided by Agent Donnelly and corroborated by the journal entries. They'll be searching for financial records, computer files, evidence related to the embezzlement, the insurance fraud, the conspiracy surrounding Mother's death. Marcus lunges towards me, his face contorted with rage and desperation, reaching for the journal. That's private property! Give it to me! He snarls. I step back calmly, holding the journal protectively. Yes, I agree, my voice quiet but firm. My father's private property, which now belongs to me. I meet his furious gaze. Just like everything else you tried to take? The heavy front door bursts open. Uniformed officers, plainclothes detectives, Agent Donnelly from the Financial Crimes Division. Their faces are grim, professional. Marcus Valentine, Agent Donnelly says, his voice calm but carrying undeniable authority. You are under arrest. Checkmate. The Financial Crimes Division of the Regional FBI Field Office is housed in an aggressively unremarkable federal building downtown. Bland brick exterior, tinted windows, layers of security, designed to be forgettable, impenetrable. Inside, Agent Donnelly's office is similarly understated. Functional metal desk, government-issue computer, beige walls. A single, small-framed photo of a smiling family sits on his desk, facing him, away from visitors. Privacy, professional distance. Miss Valentine? He acknowledges, gesturing towards the standard-issue visitor chair opposite his desk. He doesn't offer coffee. This isn't a social call. The room smells faintly of stale coffee from somewhere down the hall and the sharp tang of printer toner. He spreads the documents I've provided across his desk. Offshore bank account statements obtained through Linjiang's international network, SWIFT code transaction histories, shell company registration papers from Panama, the Cayman Islands, Cyprus. Evidence meticulously gathered over months, cross-referenced, annotated. My hands rest calmly in my lap. My voice is steady as I point out the key connections, the undeniable patterns. These transfers, Agent Donnelly, I explain, tapping a highlighted line item, coincide almost exactly with the dates Dr. Peterson significantly increased mother's sedative dosages, according to the nursing logs. Another tap. And these withdrawals from the Cyprus account match the down payment Marcus made on his new penthouse loft. In my former life, these financial threads remained tangled, obscured. A suspicious transfer here, an unexplained withdrawal there. Isolated pieces never connected into a coherent picture until long after the money and Marcus were effectively gone. This time, guided by my knowledge of where to look and amplified by Lin Zheng's resources, I followed the money relentlessly. Every transaction, every shell company, every hidden account. Documented, verified. The fluorescent lights overhead buzz faintly, a monotonous sound. Agent Donnelly listens intently, asking occasional, carefully neutral questions. Clarifying details, verifying timelines. His pen moves methodically across his legal pad. Outside his window, rain begins to fall again. Softly at first, then drumming against the glass with increasing intensity. A fitting soundtrack to the case building against my brother and his accomplices. And you state for the record, Miss Valentine, Agent Donnelly confirms, his pen poised above the notepad, his gaze steady on mine, that you have no direct personal involvement in initiating or authorizing any of these specific financial transactions we've discussed? That is correct, I affirm clearly. The weight of Mother's locket feels heavy against my chest, a silent reminder of why I'm here. The evidence speaks for itself. My role has been that of the concerned daughter, the whistleblower uncovering suspicious activity after her father's and mother's deaths. I don't mention the parallel investigation I anonymously triggered with the Securities and Exchange Commission regarding Marcus's manipulation of Valentine Industries stock prior to the disastrous Asian expansion plan. I don't mention the award-winning investigative financial journalist I discreetly fed key documents to, the one whose explosive exposé, citing confidential sources, is scheduled to break online tomorrow morning, perfectly timed to coincide with the arrests. Maximum impact. Controlled demolition. The faint taste of mint from the tea I drank before arriving lingers in my mouth. I pick up the pen Agent Donnelly offers and sign the formal witness statement he's prepared based on our discussion and the evidence provided. My signature is clear, firm. He closes the thick evidence file with a nod, a flicker of grim satisfaction in his eyes. We have enough to proceed, Miss Valentine, he assures me. Warrants are being issued as we speak. Bank accounts linked to these shell corporations will be frozen by morning. Asset seizure protocols will be initiated. He pauses. Financial crimes of this magnitude, especially when linked to potential healthcare fraud, elder abuse, and possible conspiracy to commit murder? Prosecutorial discretion is extremely limited. Things will move very quickly now. He doesn't need to spell it out. Marcus might think he has days, maybe weeks, to try and hide assets, destroy evidence, flee the country. He's wrong. His carefully constructed world, built on lies and stolen money, is about to be dismantled, not in weeks, in hours. The imposing stone steps of the county courthouse provide the perfect backdrop. Classical columns, flags flapping solemnly overhead. Maximum visual impact, just as the district attorney intended. DA Eleanor Rostov, sharp suit, sharper eyes, stands at a podium bristling with microphones. Behind her, grim-faced detectives and assistant DAs. In front of her, a jostling horde of reporters, cameras flashing like artificial lightning in the gray morning light, microphones thrust forward. The air crackles with anticipation, smelling of damp pavement, exhaust fumes, and collective adrenaline. I stand slightly off to one side, near the edge of the scrum. Dressed in a dark blue cashmere coat. Somber, respectful, but deliberately not black. Black is for mourning. Blue suggests integrity, quiet strength. My expression is carefully composed. Grave, saddened, perhaps a little overwhelmed. The victim. The reluctant whistleblower. The daughter forced to expose the darkness within her own family to see justice done. It's a role I've rehearsed. Microphones carry DA Rostov's amplified voice across the crowded plaza. Good morning. Today my office, in conjunction with state and federal law enforcement partners, is announcing significant felony charges in connection with one of the most disturbing and complex cases of financial exploitation, healthcare fraud, and medical endangerment this office has encountered in recent years. A murmur ripples through the crowd. Pens scribble furiously in notebooks. Camera shutters click incessantly. In my previous life, there was no press conference. No charges filed against Marcus or Whitman related to Dad's estate or the insurance fraud. No investigation into Mother's death. Just silence. Quiet defeat. Marcus's smug triumph. The taste of victory now is unexpectedly complex. Bitter, yes, for all that was lost. For the mother I couldn't save either time. But also deeply, fiercely satisfying. Justice finally clawed back from the abyss. DA Rostov continues, methodically outlining the charges. Racketeering, conspiracy, wire fraud, mail fraud, insurance fraud, money laundering, felony elder abuse, negligent homicide charges pending against Dr. Peterson and potentially Marcus, based on the medical evidence. The scope is staggering. The Valentine name, once synonymous with industry and philanthropy, is now linked to a cesspool of crime. I feel the weight of dozens of eyes turning towards me periodically. Cameras swing my way. Who is she? The daughter, the sister, what does she know? I keep my gaze fixed slightly above the crowd, my expression unchanging. Then, the moment arrives. 2 black sedans pull up to the curb. Marcus and Richard Whitman are escorted out by detectives. Handcuffed. Their faces are masks of shock, disbelief. They genuinely didn't see this coming. Not like this. Not the public humiliation, the perp walk in front of rolling cameras. They thought their money, their connections, their lawyers could make it all go away quietly. The metal restraints glint dully in the flat morning light as they are led up the courthouse steps, forced to walk directly past the spot where I stand. Marcus's head snaps towards me, his eyes blazing with hatred, betrayal, confusion. "Elise, how could you?" he hisses, his voice raw, desperate, loud enough for the nearest microphones to pick up. "After everything? How could you do this to your own family?" I don't flinch. I don't react. I meet his gaze for a single cold second, then turn away slightly as if pained by his outburst. My silence is my answer, more damning than any shouted accusation. The heavy courthouse doors swing open, swallowing them whole. Reporters surge forward, shouting questions after them. Questions directed at the DA, questions directed at me. Only when Marcus and Whitman are safely inside, out of earshot, do I allow a single tear to trace a path down my cheek, perfectly timed for the close-up shots. Then, taking a deep, steadying breath, I step forward towards the microphones, clutching the carefully crafted statement prepared with Lin Zhang's PR team. Time to deliver my performance. the reluctant, heartbroken heiress forced to choose justice over family loyalty. A narrative crucial for rebuilding the Valentine legacy. My legacy from the ashes of my brother's destruction. 50 floors above the city, the offices of Zhang and Associates command a breathtaking panorama. Glass walls showcase the sprawling metropolis where my meticulously planned revenge is reaching its crescendo. This building, this towering monument to global finance, was nothing more than a muddy construction site, a hole in the ground in my previous life. I bypassed the hushed, minimalist reception area using a private keycard. Few people know I have access here. My heels make no sound on the plush, dove-gray carpeting as I walk the quiet corridor towards the corner office, Lin Zhang's office. She stands as I enter, silhouetted against the floor-to-ceiling window. Even in repose, she exudes an aura of quiet power. Tall, elegant, dressed in a custom-tailored silk pantsuit the color of jade. It probably cost more than Marcus paid Richard Whitman for his initial retainer. Elise, she greets me with a slight inclination of her head. Everything proceeding according to schedule? Her voice is calm, modulated. She turns to a small, antique tea table and pours steaming, fragrant green tea into 2 delicate porcelain cups. No handles. The steam rises, carrying the subtle, clean scent of high-grade jasmine. I accept the cup she offers with both hands, bowing my head slightly. A gesture of respect I learned during the years we worked closely together. Years that, in this current timeline, technically haven't happened yet. But the muscle memory, the bond, remains. The arrests were made this morning, I confirm, feeling the comforting warmth of the cup seep into my palms. I gaze out at the city below, the courthouse, the Valentine Industries building, the hospital key locations in the drama that has unfolded. My drama. Our drama. In my previous life, after Marcus had destroyed everything, after I'd lost the company, the estate, my mother, my reputation, after I hit rock bottom. Lin Zhang found me. Or rather, I found her firm. Zhang and Associates, a boutique financial intelligence and strategic investment firm with a reputation for brilliance and discretion. Lin became my mentor, my savior. She taught me how to rebuild, not just my finances, but myself. She taught me the intricate dance of global markets, the subtle language of money as power, the patterns of fraud, the very patterns that Marcus and his cronies had used to destroy my family. She forged me into the woman I am now. And your brother? Lin asks, her dark eyes sharp, analytical, missing nothing. He suspects nothing about the true source of the investigations? The coordination? Nothing, I confirm, taking a sip of the exquisite tea. Its clean, slightly bitter taste evokes powerful memories. Late nights spent in her office in Singapore, poring over financial data, learning the strategies, the patience, the ruthlessness required to survive and thrive in her world. Lessons I desperately needed for this second chance. He believes it all stems from the evidence I supposedly uncovered on my own. The insurance policy, the medical records, Dad's journal. I allow myself a small, grim smile. He thinks I got lucky. He underestimates me. Still. He doesn't know, Lin finishes my thought, her own lips curving slightly, that the anonymous tips to the FBI, the SEC, the State Medical Board, originated from the most sophisticated private financial intelligence network in Asia, coordinated by us. What Marcus, Whitman, Vanessa, Peterson, none of them could ever possibly know that the moment I woke up, gasping, back in my hospital bed 3 years ago, reliving the start of my nightmare, my first coherent thought after the initial shock and disbelief was Lin Zhang. That I found a way, through old contacts, through sheer desperate persistence, to get a message to her. An impossible message, filled with details of future market shifts, political events, technological breakthroughs. Verifiable predictions only someone who had lived through the coming years could know. Proof of my unbelievable story. That Lin, pragmatic, brilliant, possessed of an intellect that bordered on the uncanny, had listened. And, against all logic, had believed me. Perhaps because she, too, dealt in the improbable, the hidden currents beneath the surface of the world, that she immediately, quietly, put the vast resources of Zhang and Associates at my disposal. Her network of international investigators, forensic accountants, legal strategists, security experts. all dedicated to helping me dismantle the conspiracy that had destroyed my family and nearly killed me. That the offshore accounts Marcus thought were untraceable, traced within weeks by Lynn's contacts within global banking security networks and Interpol financial crime units, that the coincidental SEC investigation into Valentine Industries, quietly nudged into existence by former high-level SEC enforcement agents now working exclusively for Lin Jiang's private clients. That the evidence I presented, all meticulously vetted, organized, and packaged by Lynn's team to ensure maximum legal impact and minimum exposure for me. Your father, Lynn says quietly, her gaze softening slightly as she refills my teacup, would be immensely proud of your strategy, your patience, your resolve. She pauses. He always said you were the one who inherited his true business instinct. The Valentine steal? I raise an eyebrow, surprised. You knew my father well? Dad had international dealings, of course, but he'd never mentioned Lin Jiang by name. Lynn smiles, a rare, genuine smile that reaches her eyes. She opens a small, lacquered box on her desk and removes a slightly faded black and white photograph. She hands it to me. It's Dad, much younger, maybe in his late 30s, grinning, standing beside a young, serious-looking Lin Jiang. Behind them stretches the iconic skyline of Shanghai's Bund. Your father saved my family's company, Lynn explains softly, her eyes distant with memory. 30 years ago, a hostile takeover attempt by Western corporate raiders. They would have destroyed us. Your father stepped in, quietly, strategically. He provided capital, advice, connections. He saw potential where others saw only risk. Her gaze meets mine again. He asked for nothing in return, but I made him a promise that if his family ever faced a similar threat, if they ever needed help navigating treacherous waters, Jiang and Associates would be there. An unpaid debt. The revelation settles over me, clicking the final missing pieces of the puzzle into place. The sheer scale of Lynn's immediate, unwavering support, her willingness to deploy vast resources based on my incredible story. It wasn't just belief in me. It was honoring a decades-old promise to my father. Did Marcus ever know about this connection? About you and Dad? I ask, studying the photograph, seeing my father's familiar, confident smile. Lynn's expression turns cold, dismissive. No, your brother attended your father's funeral, of course. But he was far too busy performing the role of grieving heir, networking with the powerful attendees, ensuring his own position, to pay any attention to the insignificant young Asian woman standing quietly in the background, paying her respects to the man who saved her family. She glances pointedly at her watch. A Patek Philippe, understated, elegant, lethally precise. The final phase of the asset recovery protocol begins in approximately, she checks the time, 2 hours and 47 minutes. Our legal teams in Zurich, Singapore, and the Caymans are standing by to execute the seizure orders the moment the U.S. warrants are officially served. Are you prepared for the complete financial neutralization of your brother and his associates? I nod slowly, finishing the last sip of my tea. I place the delicate cup back on the table. The weight of Dad's signet ring on my finger feels different now. Not just a symbol of revenge, but of legacy. Of a debt repaid across generations, a circle closing. Yes, I say, I'm prepared. I rise to leave. Lynn walks me to the private elevator reserved for her use. Her presence beside me feels solid, reassuring. Mentor, ally, friend, family, in a way Marcus never was. Remember the first lesson I taught you, Elise? She says quietly, as the polished steel elevator doors slide open with a soft hiss. The most important one, in business, in strategy, in revenge. Patience yields the greatest returns, I finish for her, stepping into the elevator car. As the doors glide silently shut, sealing me inside the descending capsule, I catch her final, almost imperceptible nod. An expression of approval, the master acknowledging the student. The student who had learned her lessons very, very well. The final phase wasn't just about reclaiming what was mine. It was about building something new, something stronger, on the foundations Lynn and my father had laid. The key feels impossibly small, insignificant in my sweaty palm. Just a tiny, ridged piece of brass-colored metal. Yet it holds the power to rewrite my past, secure my future. A key I found far too late in my previous life. This time I stand in the hushed, sterile quiet of the private viewing room at First National Bank's oldest downtown branch 3 days before Marcus is scheduled to drain the main Valentine family accounts, 1 week before Mother, in her drugged haze, is due to sign Whitman's forged will. Timing is everything. Lin Zhang stands beside me, her presence radiating a quiet authority that has the bank manager, Mr. Henderson, hovering nearby like an anxious moth. Henderson is clearly impressed not just by Lynn's formidable reputation, but by the notarized letter of authorization she presented. It bears my father's signature, bold, unmistakable. A signature affixed to certain contingency documents years ago, held in trust by Lynn, to be enacted only under specific, predetermined triggers. My rebirth, my communication with Lynn, my confirmation of the impending betrayal, these were the triggers. Will there be anything else, Miss Valentine? Miss Zhang? Henderson asks nervously, wringing his hands slightly as a uniformed guard places the heavy, dull gray metal safe deposit box on the polished wooden table before us. The room smells faintly of old paper, metal, and the particular kind of airless sterility unique to places where old money lies dormant. Privacy, please, Mr. Henderson, Lynn replies for me. Her tone is polite but leaves no room for argument. It's an order, not a request. The heavy door clicks shut behind the retreating manager. Silence descends, broken only by the faint hum of the ventilation system. My heart pounds against my ribs. I take a deep breath, forcing my hand to remain steady as I insert the small key into the lock of box hash 713. It turns smoothly. I lift the heavy lid. Inside, resting on faded velvet lining, lies exactly what I remember finding before, only this time, it's not too late. Dad's true final will and testament, properly signed, witnessed, notarized, dated just 6 months before his death. It clearly designates me as the primary heir and executor, leaving Marcus a significant but controlled trust fund contingent on remaining employed at Valentine Industries and meeting certain behavioral clauses. Thick stacks of stock certificates, crisp and official-looking, for major blue-chip companies completely unrelated to Valentine Industries, IBM, Coca-Cola, Berkshire Hathaway. Shares Dad had quietly accumulated over decades, held completely separate from the family business. Bearer bonds, dozens of them, in denominations large enough to make even Lynn, who deals with staggering sums daily, raise a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. Untraceable liquid assets. And a sealed envelope, thick cream-colored vellum, addressed simply to Elise, in Dad's familiar strong handwriting, his final letter to me. But this time, nestled beside the familiar items, lies something new. Something I didn't find in my previous life when I finally gained access to this box years after his death. A small, slim, leather-bound journal. Dark green leather, soft and worn smooth at the corners. He must have added this after your experience, Lynn observes quietly, her voice low, acknowledging the impossibility of my rebirth with her usual calm pragmatism. But before his own death in this current timeline, a final contingency. My fingers tremble slightly as I pick up the journal. The leather feels warm, familiar, almost alive beneath my touch. I open it carefully. The first page is dated just weeks before his fatal heart attack. Dad's handwriting, precise, controlled, fills the page. Elise, if you are reading this, then my worst fears have been realized. My suspicions about Marcus, about Carol's long deception, about the instability within the company, they were not unfounded paranoia. I sink into the hard visitor chair, the leather cool against my skin. The afternoon sun, slanting through the room's small barred window, casts the pages in a pool of golden light. I read on, transfixed. Page after page details Dad's methodical secret investigation, his growing unease about Marcus's spending, his management style, his hiring of private investigators, his confirmation of Mother's decades-old affair with Arthur Kensington, his discovery of financial irregularities, the slow siphoning of funds by Marcus, aided by Whitman. His painful realization that the son he had raised, given his name to, was not his own, and worse, was actively betraying him. The final pages are stunning. They outline assets I never dreamed existed, assets completely hidden, even from Whitman, even from the main Valentine Industries accountants. A holding company registered in Singapore, managed by a trusted associate of Lin Jiang's father. Real estate holdings, apartments in Paris, a villa in Tuscany, a beachfront property in Belize, all held under anonymous corporate structures. Vaulted art collections stored discreetly in Swiss free ports, impressionist paintings, rare sculptures, a separate fortune built in parallel, a firewall against potential disaster, his ultimate insurance policy. For me, I never wanted you to carry this burden, my daughter, the final entry reads. His handwriting is slightly less steady here. I hope to rectify things myself to protect you from this ugliness. But time, it seems, is not on my side. This journal, these assets, they are your shield and your sword. Use them wisely. Protect what is yours. Build your own future. A father must protect his child, his only true child, from those who would seek to take what is rightfully hers. A tear escapes, tracing a hot path down my cheek. Then another. The taste of salt surprises me. Grief, sharp and fresh, washes over me. Grief for the father I lost twice. Grief for the trust so cruelly broken. Grief for the life I should have had. Lynn places a gentle, cool hand on my shoulder. A rare breach of her usual professional distance. A gesture of profound understanding. Your father was an exceptional man, she says softly. A brilliant strategist, resourceful, prepared. Her hand rests there for a moment longer. As are you, Elise. You are truly his daughter. I close the journal carefully, reverently. I place it, along with Dad's true will, the stock certificates, the bonds, and his final letter, into the secure, reinforced briefcase Lynn brought specifically for this purpose. This hidden inheritance isn't just money. It's validation. It's power. It's freedom. It's the final, definitive proof that Dad knew, and he tried to protect me. Standing up, briefcase heavy in my hand, I feel a profound shift within me. The burning rage, the all-consuming need for revenge begins to cool, replaced by something else. A sense of purpose, a responsibility, not just to punish the guilty, but to rebuild, to honor my father's legacy, to take my rightful place. Not as the victim, not even as the avenger, but as the true heir to the Valentine name and fortune. Ready to build something stronger, cleaner, better from the wreckage Marcus created. The game isn't over, it's just beginning. And this time, I hold all the cards.